Thank you for stopping by. My name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life Show. And in this show, we talk about everything related to recovery. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about addiction. There's quite a few things we cover. This is the first of a 12-part series. We're actually breaking it down into steps because we've got 12 months in a calendar, but we also have 12 steps. So my hope and my goal is to, in every month, we'll dive in deep into each step, and we'll have themes, and we'll go through that whole month, and we're gonna, by the time we're finished that month, we would have beaten that step down to down to a pulp. So if you're new here and you want to say hello, please leave a comment below, say hi. If you want to get today's notes from the show, go ahead and type notes in the comments below. Hold on, I've got a call to action. And if you do notes in the comments below, you'll be sent a Facebook message. And if you want to ask questions, definitely shoot them in the comments or send me a message. I get messages regularly, so I want to take a minute and celebrate that. I can't believe how much engaging you guys are. There are quite a few things you guys ask me, and I want to take a minute and recognize that. I do want to go and have a show where I'm going to have an AMA where we can ask questions openly, honestly, and in a safe environment. Okay, great. So I want to go and check out. It looks like we have somebody here. Yes, we do. We have Kathleen. Hello, Kathleen. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate that. Actually, I have today's messenger notes being sent to us from ManyChat directly. So my Integromat idea, I forgot to calculate one key important thing, and that's the time zone. That I'm in Central in Calgary, so I'm in Mountain Central time. And Integromat, I guess that's in New York time, Eastern time. So there was this window of time where if somebody requests the notes and it's after a certain period, it'll go and get tomorrow's notes. And if I don't have those notes put in for tomorrow, they get a no result. Now, I didn't know this at first until I was troubleshooting it. And then I was like, oh man, okay. So I think I might have to work with ManyChat or figure out how to change time within ManyChat. But that'll be a whole other adventure. Okay, Kathleen. So thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate that. All right, so today we are actually diving into step one, and we're going into January, and I can't believe we're already in January. I thought just a blink of an eye ago we were curving into December, and now we've passed Christmas, we've passed New Year's, and here we are. It's my birthday next week. I'm pretty excited about that. It's exactly 1 week today. I'm super pumped. It'll be my belly button birthday, so that's always a win because you can always have cake on your birthday and it actually weighs 0 calories, so you don't have to worry about consuming all the sugar. So I'm pretty excited. Okay, so 1 week to my birthday, we're talking about step one. We're talking about addiction, and for me, when it comes to like before recovery, I ended up having this perception where there was only two ways to see things or experience things. In one way, it was either really, really good. Things were really, really good, or the other way was things were really, really bad. And it didn't matter. It was everything in between. I didn't perceive it. It either, if an event popped up, I would funnel it into one of those two categories. Either it's really good or really bad. Now, what I was doing to cope with those, to rationalize it and to deal with it, it wasn't healthy, it wasn't supportive. We've talked about that before in past episodes. If you want to go check them out, you definitely can. But when I'm limiting my world to only two emotions, in my addiction, while it was keeping me stagnant, while it was keeping me, I don't want to say whole, but while it was keeping me afloat, that's a better one, I ended up leaving out a lot of the world. I wasn't really experiencing everything that's out there to experience. So once I took that first step, once I moved forward in my recovery journey, once I was able to admit that I had a problem, suddenly there was this flood of emotions in between, good and bad. And there was, I think in the notes I've got, there's 50,000 different emotions in between. And it took me a while to appreciate them, and it took me a while to really nail down that there's much more to life. There's much more that life has to offer than what I'm limiting my experience to being. If I'm only living the world through these rose-colored goggles, I'm only ever going to see that linear approach. So if I'm holding on to this world of addiction, and if I'm partying every weekend, if I'm surrounding myself with not really supportive friends, then I'm only ever going to experience a certain amount of this world. Like, there's only so much I'm going to experience while hanging out at the bar. So once I remove that, I'm not saying all bars are bad. I'm just saying if that's where we're going for our coping mechanisms, if that's what we're doing for managing stress, there's probably healthier ways to do that. And for me, that's how I was doing it. As I wasn't exercising, I wasn't eating healthy, and I would feel like crap. I would make crappy decisions. I had a crappy mindset, and I couldn't figure out why my world around me, it looked to me like it was all just a bunch of crap. But I didn't appreciate it. I didn't, in my alcoholic brain, in my addiction mind, they call it a stinking thinking. So stinking thinking. So in my stinking thinking, I ended up reducing my world to those handful of emotions, and I couldn't see why everything was falling apart. But the thing that strung all of that together was me. And it didn't matter where I went, all of those things would turn to crap. It would all fall apart. Kind of like, what's that fairy tale? The one with the guy where he touches everything and then it turns to gold, the Midas touch. But only in my case, it wasn't the Midas touch. It was where I would touch things and things would fall apart. My relationships would fall apart. The jobs I was running through, it all fell apart. And I could never figure out why things weren't working for me. So the moment that I embraced recovery, the moment I took that first step, the moment I reached out for help, suddenly everything shifted. It didn't change overnight. It took a long time to build up and get out of that slum, to get out of that rut. When you're stuck in the rut, there's no good that can come from being stuck in a rut. I never did anything constructive believing I was stuck in a rut. I took this one course from Dale Carnegie. He writes a book that's called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and there was one about presentation skills workshop, I think it was. No, public speaking, that's what it is. And then so in one of his books, he references, like, if you're stuck in a rut, the person that can get out of that rut is you. If you can identify that you're in a rut, then you have the capacity and the ability to change that. You can get yourself out of that rut. Now, how we get ourselves out of that rut is individual. Like, there's no one solution for you that it is for me. The same thing that gets you into a rut isn't the same thing that's going to get me into a rut. But the same thing that gets me out of a rut isn't the same thing that's going to get you out of a rut. So I had to be open to the idea that I'm going to need to, if I can identify that things aren't working out, then what can I do to change that? What can I do to help get myself out of that? And this was over, I want to say, a long period of time that I was stringing these thoughts together. And it wasn't until, because I took that course the summer before I went to rehab, but it wasn't until I was in the middle of rehab that everything started to click and sink in. Suddenly, these skills and these lessons started, I don't want to say they unfolded before me, but my experience of the world around me is almost brought forward as much by the world as it is by my perception of it. So if I look around the world and I see these horrible, wretched things, then those are the things that are going to come forward. I'm not saying just be blindly positive about things, no. But if I'm not seeing any positive in anything, then how am I expected to see some positive aspects in this world? And there's a lot of good things out there. There's a lot of great, what do they say? Like in Calgary, that's where I am, in Calgary. There's over 400 meetings a week in Calgary when it comes to AA meetings. And so if I didn't like one specific meeting, it doesn't mean that all meetings are bad. It just means that that one meeting was bad on that one day. There's 399 other meetings to go and try out. That doesn't mean I paint with a broad brush and write it off. Very similar with the world. It's not meant to, just because I have one bad experience doesn't mean that I'm painting with a broad brush and writing it off. Just because I have one bad experience in a day doesn't make the rest of the day a write-off. That just makes that 1 minute, that 1 hour. I don't need to write off a day or a month. Some people say they have bad months. I don't know. I might have a bad minute. I might even have a bad hour, but there's no way I can have a bad day. That's too much commitment. There's so much more out there to want to try, so much more out there to experience. Remember how I said there's the two ways I would perceive the world? And it's an evolving process. Like I would catch myself, I still do. Like I still catch myself where I might be at a 10 for my day, but I might see myself slipping down to an 8. And then if I get closer to that 6 or 7 zone, then I know that there's something up, there's something that's off. And if I can identify that I'm falling into that rut, then I have the ability to change it. Hop in the shower, go for a run, grab a quick meal. Have I had my coffee for the day? Have I had my water for the day? These are all different things I have to keep track of now that I'm in this world of recovery. Again, the same solutions for me may not be the same solutions for you. Maybe I need to get out there and say hi to my friends, let them know I appreciate them. Maybe I need to let you know that thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. You are an important part of my day. And I'm committed to putting this out there. Hold on. I'm committed to putting it out there regularly and consistently. My goal is to have this show run at a consistent basis. And over the course of a month, we would have covered everything related to that step. And it was quite a bit to each step. And if I was to cover it all in one show, this would be one long show. So rather than bite onto that, my thought was, let's make it compartmentalized. Let's make it small snippets. And let's have a whole bunch of smaller episodes that you can enjoy or watch or pick the best parts that you enjoy the most. But I'm taking these, spanning them over the month. It gives us lots of time. And then through the questions that were asked throughout the month, I'm going to be holding a Q&A session, and I'll be answering some of the questions you guys send me. Actually, I got one this morning that I thought was amazing. And then a couple of days before that, I got another question. So I'm really excited as to how engaging you are as a community and how much that means from a trust perspective. That because some of these topics are pretty personal. Like some of them are pretty sensitive, and with the utmost respect, I appreciate that you think of me and that you reach out, and I think that's awesome. There's support out there as well. There's amazing support structures out there, but then this show is meant for an open and safe place that in case you wanted to share, you're more than welcome to. But this is me and my journey, and my hope is by sharing it, because I didn't think I had anybody to connect with when I first started this process. And this show is not meant to convince people to do something. Like, I'm not here to convince you to do something or not to do anything, but this show is really meant to be a toolkit for the people that have already made the decision that this is something you want to do. That if this is an outstanding life that you're here to live, then let's have a conversation. Let's chat about it. Let's engage with each other and have fun along the way. We just happen to be talking about recovery. We just happen to be covering addiction. So thanks again for hanging out. I really appreciate that. So every episode, I want to have a challenge and I want to have some fun with it. So I do have something where I've got a gratitude of the day, and I've also got an action of the day. So for today's gratitude, I'm thankful that I have my higher power, and that my higher power keeps me humble. And by keeping me humble, I mean living life on life's terms means that I'm going to be, it's going to keep me modest. It's going to help me build character. I heard it once, my friend Pam, she told me about tall poppy syndrome, where if you're a poppy and you grow too large, the poppy will fall over, so you have to cut that poppy down. And that reminds me of the being humbled, remaining that sense of gratitude, remaining thankful, because you can't be both at the same time. I have to be modest and thankful, because if I'm filling it with something else, that's taking up space and it's taking away from being thankful. So for me, today's action of the day, following up with my gratitude of the day, my action of the day is, I'm gonna think about my goals. I'm gonna think about something I can do to help achieve that outcome. Because in my addiction, I never thought that I could do anything. That sounds weird to say, but I didn't think I could be. I would tell myself these stories. I would tell myself these conditioning thoughts, or I would limit my belief. We've talked about limiting beliefs before, but it's when your limiting beliefs start making decisions for you, when it starts running rampant and starts taking control, that's when poor decisions are being made. Earlier, I mentioned about being in a bad mindset with bad skills, bad tools, and bad surroundings. I'm going to have bad outcomes. And so, one of the hardest things for me to do, and this is me just being open and honest and transparent, one of the hardest things for me to do is to believe that I could do these things. I didn't think I could. No one would ever give an addict a car. So why should I go get my license? I might as well just not even bother trying. And so for the longest time, I didn't bother even pursuing that. Who's going to trust an addict with a nice job? So I never bothered applying myself to it. Who's going to want to have, someone in recovery in a relationship? So I never bothered pursuing a relationship. I never thought of myself in that way. So by having these goals and limiting myself through these stories, by limiting, remember when I said I'm perceiving the world in only two views? By choosing to only believe in those two views, I'm removing myself from the rest of the world. Like I'm depriving the world in some sense of the amazingness that is me. And I need to go and remove that limiting belief. We've talked about limiting beliefs before, and having a liberating truth. Having a sense where, there is a purpose. There is more for me to give. There's more to my story than just addiction. There's more to my story than just this idea of my past. And letting go of that, letting go of my ego, and embracing the world more than the two experiences, and instead believing in, I can trust my higher power. I can trust my goals. I can have goals that are so big that they scare me. I can have audacious goals. And so today's action of the day is, what is one of those goals? What is one of them? And what's, list 3 things that I can do right now to help move me closer to it. I'm not going to achieve this big goal overnight, but what's the next right thing for me to do? And when I break it down into smaller and smaller parts, it makes it easier and easier. I still to this day, I do not have my license to drive, but I have my learners. And so with my learners, it brings me one step closer to getting my license. So maybe my next appointment will be to phone up and make that scheduled appointment. Maybe that's what I need to do in the next 10 minutes. Well, maybe not the next 10 minutes. Maybe tomorrow morning when they're open. Okay. So today's episode was about outstanding life. We're talking about everything addiction. We're talking about recovery. And I want to say thank you for stopping by. Hey, kitty. Thanks for hanging out and being cool. I really appreciate that. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I appreciate all the questions you send, and we're going to have a Q&A. And if there's anything I've left out, or if there's more you want to know about, and if you want to get the show notes, type notes in the comments below and we'll have them sent out to you. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks again for hanging out. I really appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye. Hi. How are you?